Fans of classic television will recognize one of pop culture's most famous talking animals, Mr. Ed. But the story of the real live horse behind the iconic sitcom is even stranger than a show about a man and his talking pet. Today, we're talking about everyone's favorite talking horse, Mr. Ed. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel. Then feel free to leave a comment and let us know what other unusual TV shows you would like to hear about. Okay, let's chat. For 6 hilarious, or is that hilarious, seasons, Mr. Ed and his friend Wilbur captivated audiences nationwide. The show ran for a staggering 143 black and white episodes, starting in syndication, only to be picked up by CBS as its popularity soared. And it all started with an unusual phrase. When you hear the words bamboo harvester, you might immediately picture an adorable tree-climbing mammal or fuzzbear. But in this case, bamboo harvester isn't a koala or a panda, or an obscure working title for a Star Wars film. It's actually the name of the horse who played Mr. Ed on TV, and he has a prestigious pedigree. Born in 1949 to 2 purebred horses, including prized show horse Harvester, the young Palomino would eventually be owned by Les Hilton, protege of iconic entertainer Will Rogers, who owned a house and stable in North Hollywood, working on animal shows like My Friend Flicka and Francis the Talking Mule. It was a real brat pack of 4-legged TV stars. Hilton's training style was the true secret of his success. He was gentle, never striking a horse. He only used his whip as an extension to guide them during training. In a time when many animal actors were mistreated or drugged to perform, Hilton's horses were something special. I think we've all had a couple managers who could learn something from this guy. Bamboo Harvester was a beautiful and energetic creature who galloped, among other places, through the prestigious Pasadena Rose Parade, winning plenty of awards as a show horse. However, Bamboo Harvester was not the originally intended star of Mr. Ed. The original show pilot, titled The Wonderful World of Wilbur Post, was produced in the late 1950s, but it never aired. Why? It simply didn't work. The cast was all wrong, and the original Chestnut Gelding, taking on the starring role, had a breakdown on the set. It was all a steaming pile of horse, well, you know, but it was probably still better than that caveman show. The show would later be retooled with Alan Young as Wilbur Post and Bamboo Harvester as Mr. Ed, and its title was changed to the cleaner Mr. Ed, like when Justin Timberlake told Mark Zuckerberg to drop the from Facebook. And the rest is classic television history. Being the star of a beloved television show certainly comes with its perks, one of which is a sense of entitlement. Although the real Mr. Ed couldn't talk, Bamboo Harvester figured out how to, communicate. Growing up in Hollywood, the horse's attitude matched that of his human co-stars. He was known to stop in the middle of a scene, and sometimes he decided a shoot was finished by leaving the stage and not returning. Bet he had a better trailer than his co-stars too. If that wasn't enough, he had some celebrity-sized demands. Nothing near the level of Van Halen's legendary "No Brown M&M's" clause, but still pretty big. He loved drinking sweet tea by the gallon, and he ate 20 pounds of hay every day. Then again, what else would you expect a horse to eat after a long day on set? M&M's? But despite his diva-adjacent tendencies, in a 1962 article for Western Horseman, which was a magazine that people allegedly read and you could apparently subscribe to, the show's producers said, But that's a ducktail for another time. It's also been said the horse only missed 1 day of shooting throughout his entire career, and rarely needed his stunt double, Pumpkin, during the show. But Pumpkin did become just as famous, eventually playing roles in Green Acres and several pudding commercials. Wonder if they fed him 20 pounds of pudding per day. That sounds like a better gig. But once you eat 20 pounds of it, everything is kind of hay. Lane, who had over 125 credits in film and television, many of which are B-grade westerns, before dying in 1973 from lung cancer. He notably played the popular character Red Ryder, known for the namesake of the infamous BB gun in A Christmas Story, in a number of different films, before going on to voice America's favorite talking horse. Taking on the uncredited role of Mr. Ed's voice may have seemed unremarkable for the journeyman actor at the time. but it was his voice and performance that gave the horse his personality. And for that, he continues to delight viewers who stream or watch the show to this day. The Golden Globes, the Emmys, the Razzies. It seems like there's an award for everything in show business, including animals. The Performing Animal Top Star of the Year, or Patsy Awards, honored exceptional animal actors in movies and television, despite sounding more like an awards ceremony for people who do jail time for mob bosses. For a while, during the reign of animal stars like Benji, Lassie, and Rin Tin Tin, the Patsy Awards were a big deal. Even future President Ronald Reagan was a presenter at one of the early ceremonies, presumably because there were jelly beans at Crafty, and everyone else was ignoring them for hay. And Bamboo Harvester received plenty of awards for Mr. Ed, including 4 Patsies in a row. The awards were discontinued in 1986, presumably because Reagan had other commitments that year and couldn't return to host. But their meaning lives on as film and television history. Elvis, JFK, Andy Kaufman. Conspiracy theories about their deaths persisted for a long time after they passed, a phenomenon that happens with many celebrities and historical figures. Now, we can add another name to the list, Bamboo Harvester. After the show's conclusion, one theory states he was euthanized due to poor health in a stable in Oklahoma. Another, more optimistic theory stated that he was running free on a farm until he succumbed to old age. But Alan Young, Wilbur himself, stated otherwise in his autobiography. He wrote that Bamboo Harvester lived longer than other reports had stated, and claimed he'd even visited the horse in his retirement at a stable in Burbank, California. And if you've never been to Burbank, it's the perfect place for a horse to retire in the 1970s. Johnny Carson, warm weather, ample parking. What's not to love? Most bizarrely, Bamboo Harvester's eventual passing did not spell the end for the show. Hey, you never leave talking horse money on the table. For at least 9 years, an entirely different horse was used for Mr. Ed's still shots and press kits. And when that horse clopped off to the big hay bale in the sky, the public believed it was the original Mr. Ed. Young knew about the switch, but kept it a secret to avoid spoiling people's memories. If you're like most people, you've probably had the show's theme song stuck in your head for at least the past few minutes. It's a jaunty tune that stood the test of time, even though Ohio preacher Jim Brown accused it of hiding secret satanic messages back in 1986. He claimed that if you play the horse song backwards, you'd hear the phrase, "Someone sung this song for Satan." Obviously, that only made the song seem vaguely dangerous and therefore cool, even though it does not actually contain any hidden messages. Go ahead and check. But the most bizarre part of the song's history might be a cover that emerged from an unlikely source. Tiny Tim, a falsetto-wielding oddity who played ukulele and crooned his way through Tin Pan Alley tunes like a ghost haunting your memories. And filmmaker James Wan agreed. Tiny Tim's biggest hit, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, is a recurring trope in Wan's Insidious horror franchise. Tiny Tim's take on the Mr. Ed theme was released in 1984, well past Tiny Tim's time in the spotlight. In his inimitable style, or irritating style, depending on your tastes, Tim takes us through a typically ukulele-driven rendition, complete with imitation horse sounds. So if they ever need to set an Insidious sequel at a stable, they know what recording to use. So what do you think? Were you a fan of Mr. Ed back in the day? What other famous animals would you like to hear about? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.